It began as an ordinary night in a quiet Texas suburb, until a doorbell camera captured 10 silent seconds that would expose a deadly obsession. What seemed like a routine visit at Lauren Mitchell's front door turned into one of the most chilling murders ever recorded on home security. In those few flickering frames, the camera didn't just witness a crime. It revealed the face of betrayal, obsession, and a killer hiding in plain sight. El Paso, Texas, was known for its quiet charm, where most evenings were filled with the scent of desert air and the low hum of televisions behind curtained windows. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved across driveways, dogs barked at passing mail trucks, and porch lights blinked on like clockwork. The Mitchell residence stood at the end of a cul-de-sac, a modest two-story house with white shutters and a bright red door that made it instantly recognizable. Lauren Mitchell had moved there 3 years earlier after getting a job as a school counselor at a nearby elementary school. She lived alone, but her days were never lonely. Students adored her, parents trusted her, and neighbors often stopped by to chat. On the night of October 14th, the neighborhood was calm, the air cool and still. At 11 p.m., the sudden flash of police lights painted the houses in red and blue. Sirens broke the silence as officers surrounded Lauren's home. Curious residents peered from behind blinds, whispering through their phones, trying to understand what had gone wrong. Moments later, a stretcher was wheeled out the front door, covered with a white sheet. Beneath it lay Lauren, lifeless. The discovery shocked everyone who knew her. Nothing about her life suggested danger. No visible enemies, no history of trouble. Within hours, news outlets swarmed the area, filming the house where tragedy had struck. Reporters spoke of a suspicious death, but police remained tight-lipped. The only confirmed detail was that the home's smart doorbell had captured the final moments before Lauren's fall. That small device, glowing faintly near the red door, became the center of attention. As investigators downloaded the footage, no one realized that those few seconds of silent video would unravel the town's peace forever. The detectives gathered around the monitor in the dimly lit living room, the doorbell camera's blue light flickering on the screen. The footage began at 10:42 p.m., showing Lauren's front porch bathed in the warm glow of the overhead light. She appeared calm, wearing a soft robe and slippers, holding a mug as if she had just settled in for the night. The doorbell rang once, an ordinary sound that would soon carry extraordinary weight. Lauren hesitated for a moment, set down her mug, and moved toward the door. The footage, though silent, felt heavy with tension. As she opened the door, a tall figure appeared just beyond the porch light's reach. The person's face was obscured by a hood, body angled away from the camera. Lauren seemed startled but not frightened, as if she recognized the visitor. She took a small step forward. Then, in a split second, her body jerked backward. Her hand rose to her chest, her eyes wide with confusion. The mug shattered on the floor. She stumbled, collapsing in the doorway, her robe fanning out across the porch tiles. The figure stood motionless for a moment, watching her fall, before turning and running into the darkness. The camera's motion sensor followed the movement until the intruder disappeared beyond the sidewalk. Then, stillness returned. Only the faint hum of crickets visible in the flickering shadows. The entire event lasted less than 10 seconds, but it felt endless to those watching. Detectives replayed the footage again and again, slowing each frame, looking for clues. There was no weapon visible, no clear face, no sound. Only that single encounter, a shadow, a sudden collapse, and the eerie quiet that followed. It was the most haunting piece of evidence the department had ever seen. Lauren Mitchell had always been described as the kind of person who lit up a room without trying. She volunteered at school events, baked cookies for her students, and spent weekends organizing donation drives. To those who knew her, she was the picture of stability and kindness. But when detectives began to piece together her life behind closed doors, a different image began to emerge. Her phone records showed late-night calls to unknown numbers, messages deleted minutes after being sent, and a series of emails from accounts that didn't appear to belong to her. When investigators dug deeper, they found that Lauren maintained a second email address registered under a false last name. It had been used to sign up for several online dating platforms. She wasn't the happy, open book people thought she was. She had a private side, one she had gone to great lengths to conceal. Her friends told police that Lauren had mentioned feeling like she was being watched in recent weeks, but brushed it off as paranoia. No one had taken her words seriously. The more police uncovered, the more they realized how carefully she had tried to manage her secrets. Her laptop revealed draft messages she never sent, some of them addressed to an unnamed person warning them to stay away and stop showing up. There were also strange payments on her credit card for prepaid phones and privacy software. Detectives began to suspect that Lauren had been in contact with someone who frightened her, someone she once trusted but now feared. By the end of the third day of investigation, it was clear this was no random break-in. Lauren's death was the final act of something that had been building for months, and whoever stood at her doorstep knew everything about her. Dylan Harper had been part of Lauren's life for nearly 5 years. They met in college, got engaged a year later, and for a while, everyone thought they were destined for marriage. But 2 months before her death, the engagement ended abruptly. Friends described it as a painful, public breakup filled with tears, rumors, and resentment. Dylan had taken it hard, struggling to accept that Lauren wanted to move on. When detectives brought his name into the investigation, it was an obvious step. He had motive, history, and emotional attachment. Police interviewed him at his apartment on the east side of town. He appeared composed, almost too calm, when they asked about the night of the murder. Dylan said he'd spent the evening at a friend's house watching football, offering up a detailed timeline that matched the game's broadcast. His friend confirmed his story, and the timestamps seemed to check out. Still, something about Dylan's composure unsettled investigators. He spoke about Lauren in the past tense, as if he'd already accepted her fate. Detectives searched his phone and laptop, finding no traces of threatening messages or calls to Lauren in the days leading up to her death. But neighbors recalled seeing him drive past her house several times since their breakup. One even mentioned that Lauren had complained about seeing his car parked near her street late at night. When confronted, Dylan denied everything, insisting he was trying to move on. The case against him wasn't solid, but the emotional connection kept him at the top of the suspect list. Detectives couldn't ignore the pattern: breakup, tension, and a sudden death weeks later. Even if Dylan hadn't pulled the trigger, they believed he knew more than he was admitting. Something about his quiet confidence felt rehearsed. The investigation gained new momentum when a neighbor came forward with a crucial statement. Around the time of Lauren's death, she had noticed a dark SUV parked a few houses down from the Mitchell residence. It wasn't a familiar vehicle, and what caught her attention was how long it idled there with its headlights off. She remembered glancing at the clock. It was 10:30 p.m., just minutes before Lauren's doorbell footage was recorded. When police canvassed the neighborhood, 2 more residents mentioned seeing the same vehicle circling the block earlier that evening. None could identify the make or license plate, only that it was dark-colored and had tinted windows. Detectives pulled every available security recording from nearby homes. In one video, captured 2 streets away, a dark SUV could be seen turning onto Lauren's street and slowing down near her driveway. The vehicle lingered for a moment, then drove past, only to return a few minutes later. When enhanced frame by frame, it revealed that the license plate area was intentionally covered with a dark plastic shield. Someone had gone to great lengths to remain untraceable. Police checked every registered SUV owner in a 10-mile radius, but none matched the vehicle's description. Rental agencies were contacted, and hours of traffic camera footage were reviewed, but the mysterious SUV seemed to vanish after leaving the neighborhood. Investigators began to suspect premeditation. Whoever killed Lauren hadn't just shown up impulsively, they had planned their escape. The unsettling part was that Lauren's doorbell camera, despite its clear image of the porch, offered no glimpse of the vehicle that brought her killer there. It stayed just out of frame, hidden in the dark, as if deliberately positioned to avoid detection. That careful precision suggested this wasn't the attacker's first time watching her house. During a second search of Lauren's home, detectives focused on her bedroom, hoping to find something the first sweep had missed. In the back of her dresser, hidden beneath layers of clothing, they found a small black phone that didn't match her usual devices. It was locked with a passcode, but technicians quickly bypassed it, uncovering a series of text messages that immediately shifted the direction of the case. The phone had been used secretly, no synced accounts, no contacts except one saved under the single letter M. The conversation between Lauren and M was tense, fragmented, and filled with unease. Earlier messages hinted at a relationship that had once been close but had soured into fear and distrust. Lauren repeatedly asked M to stop contacting her, warning that she would go to the police. The final message, sent at 9:41 p.m. on the night of her death, read, "If you show up here, I'm calling the police." There was no response from M. Less than an hour later, Lauren was dead. Phone records showed the device had received several missed calls from the same number earlier that evening, each lasting only seconds before disconnecting. Investigators traced the number, but it belonged to a prepaid SIM card purchased at a convenience store 2 weeks earlier, unregistered and untraceable. Detectives now believe the person who killed Lauren was M, someone she knew well enough to exchange personal messages with but feared enough to hide from. The hidden phone proved that Lauren had been anticipating danger. She had tried to take precautions, but hadn't realized how close the threat had come. What haunted investigators most was the timing. The phone screen had lit up with a final notification just minutes before the doorbell camera began to record. Digital forensics became the core of the investigation. Technicians traced the activity of the prepaid phone connected to M, hoping to uncover its user's identity. The phone had been activated 2 weeks before the murder and used sparingly, only for short text exchanges and brief calls, all directed to Lauren's hidden number. It connected to several Wi-Fi networks across El Paso, including one belonging to a local coffee shop and another registered to a nearby public library. From surveillance footage at those locations, detectives spotted a person purchasing a prepaid card and using the library computer, wearing a baseball cap and mask. The individual's wrist bore a faint tattoo, 3 black lines circling the skin. The image was blurry, but the tattoo detail stood out. Investigators compared it against every person in Lauren's life, including Dylan. No match. With Dylan ruled out, the case widened. Police combed through Lauren's emails, looking for anyone whose initials matched M. One contact caught their attention, Marcus Reed, a co-worker at the elementary school. He worked as a computer technician and had recently helped Lauren set up her new home security system. Marcus's name had appeared only once in Lauren's text history, yet his presence in her digital life ran deeper than expected. Logs from her doorbell camera's cloud account revealed remote access attempts days before her death. The IP address traced back to the school's server, where Marcus had administrative privileges. Detectives realized he could have easily monitored her camera without permission. Still, they needed proof of connection to the prepaid phone. Forensic experts discovered that the same public Wi-Fi networks used by M were also logged on Marcus's personal laptop. The findings painted a chilling picture. Lauren's killer wasn't an unknown stranger, but someone with intimate access to her world, both online and off. Detectives arrived at Marcus Reed's apartment early one morning with a search warrant in hand. The small, neatly arranged space reflected his quiet, meticulous personality. He greeted them with calm politeness, almost as if he had been expecting their visit. Marcus was known at the school for his reserved nature, helpful, shy, and always keeping to himself. No one had ever imagined he could be capable of violence. Yet, as officers moved through his home, the unsettling evidence began to unfold piece by piece. In his office, investigators found multiple hard drives stacked neatly beside his computer. Many were encrypted, but one contained folders labeled with the names of various coworkers, including Lauren's. When technicians opened hers, they discovered an organized collection of video files, doorbell recordings, classroom surveillance clips, and even screenshots from her social media accounts. Marcus had been watching her for months, gathering everything she posted or appeared in. It was digital stalking on an obsessive scale. He had also saved backup data from the smart home system he helped install. Among the files were remote access logs that matched the same timestamps as those from Lauren's doorbell camera. He had used his technical expertise to infiltrate her security feed, monitoring her house whenever she was home alone. When questioned, Marcus remained unerringly calm. He admitted to accessing the system out of concern for her safety, claiming she had once asked him to check it after a false alarm. But his explanation unraveled quickly as more data surfaced: hidden folders, deleted cloud backups, and a timeline that proved he had logged into her system the very night she died. By the time detectives left his apartment, there was no doubt left. Marcus Reed wasn't just a co-worker. He had been the unseen watcher behind Lauren's doorbell light. When investigators returned to Marcus Reed's apartment for a second, more thorough search, they discovered something that tied every fragment of the case together. Inside a locked desk drawer sat a small flash drive labeled LM, Lauren Mitchell's initials. Forensic technicians opened it carefully, unsure what they would find. The contents were chilling. The drive contained dozens of folders, each meticulously organized by date, showing video clips taken from Lauren's doorbell camera. Every file documented her daily life, arriving home, bringing in groceries, taking out trash, and standing by the doorway to make phone calls. Someone had been recording her every move. The final video file was time-stamped the night of her murder. It stopped abruptly, seconds before the fatal moment caught on the official footage. Investigators quickly realized the copy had been edited to exclude the killer's image. The camera angle showed Lauren opening the door and stepping forward. But just as a shadow entered the frame, the video cut to black. It was deliberate. Marcus had erased himself from the evidence. Deeper inside the flash drive, detectives found a text file hidden among the data, written in plain words that served as a digital confession. It read, asterisk, she didn't love me back. Now no one else will. Asterisk, the message confirmed their worst suspicions. Marcus hadn't acted out of impulse, but obsession. He had convinced himself that if he couldn't have her, no one should. Confronted with the evidence, Marcus stayed silent, showing no visible emotion as officers read the confession aloud. His calmness was unnerving, as though the truth finally being uncovered didn't matter anymore. The footage he thought he had deleted became his undoing, a silent witness to the crime he had tried so carefully to conceal. The digital trail had spoken louder than any words. The trial of Marcus Reed drew national attention. Reporters filled the courtroom, and social media buzzed with debates about technology, privacy, and obsession. Prosecutors presented the evidence in sequence: the hidden phone, the prepaid number, the remote access logs, and finally, the doorbell footage that had captured the last seconds of Lauren Mitchell's life. When the silent video played before the jury, the room fell into complete stillness. 10 seconds of grainy motion told the entire story. Lauren opening her door, the brief flash of movement, and her sudden collapse. There were no words, no screams, only the cold, mechanical eye of the camera watching everything. Marcus sat expressionless throughout the trial. His defense claimed mental instability, arguing that his fixation on Lauren was the result of untreated psychological issues. But the prosecution emphasized the planning, the precision, and the deliberate erasure of evidence. Every action, they argued, showed intent. The jury agreed. After only 4 hours of deliberation, Marcus Reed was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In the weeks that followed, the footage went viral online, shared millions of times across platforms. It became a haunting reminder of how technology, designed to protect, could also record horror. Neighbors who once felt safe began covering their doorbell cameras, unable to shake the image of Lauren's final moments. The red door of her home became a quiet memorial, lined with flowers and candles from those who wished to remember her not as a victim, but as a person who trusted too easily. El Paso's sense of security was forever changed. The case of Lauren Mitchell became a warning that even the faint glow of a doorbell light could conceal a darkness watching from the edge of the frame.